Hello and welcome. Happy bye week, Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. Wanted to hop in and talk about running back Rachaad White. Starting to hear, and I guess it's a slow building narrative, that maybe the Buccaneers don't have their guy at running back. Maybe Rachaad White's not the guy. Why is the running game struggling? We're not getting the production. And I really could not disagree more. Sometimes statistics don't tell the full story, and perspective is required. Not always. Sometimes statistics are just flat, plainly correct. But this is the former, not the latter. Rachaad White not putting up necessarily impressive numbers on the stat sheet by any means. On the season, he's got roughly 200 yards. He's only scored one touchdown the entire season thus far, and he's averaging 3.3 yards per carry. So none of that jumps off the page as, wow, sign me up. Where do I get that level of production? But I think sometimes perspective is important. And the perspective here is the run game is not just about running backs, right? It's about scheme, the offensive line, and the running back all working together in tandem. And I think that the coordination between the three doesn't really get looked at enough, right? If a running back produces, a running back gets all the credit. If a running back struggles, a running back takes all the blame. That's just kind of how it goes because nobody ever really pays attention to offensive linemen, which is a whole separate discussion. But I think the key here to analyze, and I know Rachaad White's only got a 3.6 yard per carry average throughout his whole career, right? 2 years in the league now, and it's not a mind-boggling number. But last year, Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line was abysmal. I mean, it was a horrendous showing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line outside of Tristan Wirfs for the entire season. This year, a lot of those same players are still playing on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line. There are some new faces, and some of the old faces have moved to new places. But you have a lot of the same guys there, and there is a different style of running the football in Tampa, but still, it is offensive line plus the running back that make the run game go. Now, if you watch Rachaad White and you really pay close attention, this is where the stats will lie to you. Rachaad White very frequently winds up getting the ball and immediately has to deal with the defender. A lot of times throughout the course of the game, you'll see Rachaad White gets the handoff and there's already a man in his face. And Rachaad White either eats it and he loses yards on the play, or he's got to make a guy miss immediately. Now, what that does, besides throw off the timing and everything, the syncopation of the blocking, all of that stuff, is it really morphs his statistics because Rachaad White getting hit in the backfield and making a guy miss and then fighting to get 2 yards is disingenuous to say that was a 2-yard run, right? That's not at all the same as if the offensive line opened up a hole and it was there was 2 yards there to be had, and Rachaad White got 2 yards. Rather, he's taking a negative 2-yard run and turning it into a 2-yard gain. And that happens so consistently for Rachaad White, where he gets the ball immediately, has to make a man miss, then battles back to the line of scrimmage, fights through some contact, and turns a negative into a small positive. Would it be great if he could break all sorts of runs all over the field? Of course it would. But Rachaad White is a little bit hamstrung right now by some struggles up front. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers interior offensive line is probably the weakest part of their entire team, I would say, and Rachaad White struggles a lot as a result. You see in the pass game how good Rachaad White is in space. When the Buccaneers can dump it down to Rachaad White out of the backfield and get him opportunities in space where he doesn't have to constantly evade as he immediately gets the ball, he is much more effective. That could happen in the run game if the blocking were better. Not even necessarily elite, just improved. I don't think that the line will get worse as the season goes on. I would expect it to get better. Generally, offensive line play improves as the group gets more chemistry together. It's that kind of position. And I do think Rachaad White's numbers will gradually improve this season. But it's disingenuous to say, well, he's only got 3.3 yards per carry. He's struggling. In reality, how many runs has Rachaad White avoided a negative play on? Getting the Buccaneers out of a 2nd and 12 and into a 2nd and 7 or a 2nd and 8 is crucial. That is a very important play to keep yourself ahead of the chains as far as drive sequencing goes. And in a play caller's mindset, if you go 1st and 10, you hand the ball off, and you wind up with a 2nd down and 12, it's very unadvantageous. This is not where we want to be, because now we have to ensure that we get yards on this play, because we do not want to be in a 3rd and 10 plus. That's not what we want. We don't want the defense teeing off on our quarterback. If you get me to a 2nd and 8, at least I know I can count on you to net me some sort of positive result. I can keep the threat of the run game alive, and I know if I get to a 2nd and 8, I could hand it to you again and get myself to a 3rd and medium, a 3rd and manageable, which is where I ultimately want to be. Or it can be a little bit risky, knowing I'll still have less than 3rd and 10, even if my next play doesn't work out. So to me, Rachaad White, statistically, it's not the best season thus far, or the best start to his season. I think, though, the stats do not tell the full story. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. Is Rachaad White the guy? Is he not the guy? Where do you stand?